Awesome. Okay, we'll get started first with a few introductions. And as you can see, we've enabled the closed captioning for this meeting as well. Um, this is the first roundup of the 24-25 school year. We have these once a month and we record them and put them on our website under the events tab at tslp.org. A few introductions to start with. Like I said, I'm Kate Deedy. I am the North Central Northeast Area Liaison. There we go. We also have with us today Beth Peterson. She's in Sioux Falls. She's our Southeastern Liaison. Steph Badwound from out in the Black Hills. She does the entire west side of the state. And Maya Gillen, who's out of the Mitchell office, and she does the South Central area. So thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to talk with Katie Grand about some huge changes when it comes to the payroll process for Project Skills. But first, a few reminders. Our transition IEP workshops are still going on. September 5th will be at the Prairie West Library in Sioux Falls, starting at 9:30. If you've signed up for that, that's a change. We couldn't get in quite right away in the morning. So 9:30 is when that is going to start. September 25th, the Compass office in Rapid City, we're going to have a workshop. And also we had a little bit of a schedule change that I forgot to include in here. My apologies. Maya Gillen will also be hosting a transition IEP workshop at the CORE office, I believe. Is that correct? On September 19th.
Correct. Yep. Down in Platt.
That's in Platt. So be sure to sign up through Canvas for those. If you're having trouble signing up for those, let us know and we'll get you in. So the roundups, tell us what you want to hear. Let us know. If there's a particular topic that you would like addressed, let us know. We're always looking to see what you would benefit from. So let us know if you have suggestions. These are the dates. We're next going to meet on September 25th, then October 23rd. We'll take a little bit of a break for the holidays, come back January 22nd, February 26th, and wrap up the year on April 23rd. It's crazy to see 2025 dates already. Holy cow. I'm dating myself when I say I remember Y2K. If you are interested in any of our previous topics, we have roundups dating back for the last several years at tslp.org events under the transition roundups. And just a note, I should have said earlier with those IEP workshops, also on that same page, we have the 2023 virtual transition workshop. That information is still accurate. If you can't get to a live workshop, but you're still wanting to see it, you can go there and watch it. And of course, you can always contact your liaison. Well, we're pulling the switcheroo. I think this is a good change, and most feedback we've gotten is this is a good change. We're going to change Catch the College Wave from the spring to the fall. So our Catch the College Wave events will be taking place this fall in October and November. In Aberdeen, Brookings, Mitchell, and Rapid City. Those flyers are on our website. They're going out to teachers. If you have questions about those, please let us know. And we love, love, love if you share those with parents as well, especially Catch the College Wave. There's so much about financial aid that parents could find useful, and they're welcome to join us. Let's Talk Work is going to be in the spring. We have events in Watertown, Mitchell, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, and Fort Pierre. And again, those flyers are going up on the website as we get them developed, and you can get specific information from your area liaison. We're also not territorial. If maybe I have my Aberdeen ones, but the Brookings one works better for you, go to the Brookings one. That's okay. You can switch up regions. We don't mind. Just register with that liaison. 26th Annual Youth Leadership Forum will be June 8th through 12th at NSU. That is a week later than usual due to some scheduling conflicts. We are getting those applications ready to come out. They should be out very, very soon. It is an online application this year, but it should be easier to fill out than last year's. We learned a lot from last year, and we appreciate your patience. Also, leadership applications will be coming out soon. If you know of a student who's gone to YLF, who's interested in leadership, let them know that this is coming up. Those applications, we will send you the links for those, and they will also be linked from our homepage. The annual Transition Summer Institute is July 8th and 9th at Arrowwood Conference Center at Cedar Shore. I think most folks who've gone, I know a couple of people came for the first time this year, and I think they're glad they did. We, of course, welcome you to come and talk about all things transition and education and self-care. If there are things you want to hear, presentations you want to see, just let us know, and we'll try to make that happen. We are on Facebook. We have taken over Facebook from our children. We are at Transition Services Liaison Project, South Dakota. There you can find information on upcoming events. You can find things we're doing. We share neat things that are happening around the state in the area of transition and disability. So come and join us, like our page, and get more information. And I'm gonna stop sharing if I can find, there it is. With two different screens, I'm kind of all over the place, so my apologies. So without further ado, does anybody have any questions or anything to start with about TSLP, any of our events? Again, if you do, you can always contact us, your regional liaison. We're always here to help. Call us when you're stuck in the middle of an IEP, if you don't know who to call. One of my colleagues, when we were doing the Watertown IEP workshop, said, when in doubt, give us a shout. So I'm sticking with that. So now I will introduce Katie Grand. She's the transitional specialist from the Department of Rehabilitation Services, and she's going to talk us through the changes for the project skills. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Kate. Again, my name is Katie Grand. I'm the transition specialist. Many of you probably get my emails once a quarter asking for the quarterly assurance of match report. We just got the third one. So if you're not sure if your school is up to date on your reports, shoot me an email and I'll let you know if there's some that need to get caught up on. But I'm going to jump right into all of the wonderful changes that the division has been working on since November to bring Project Skills payroll into the now time. In the past, it's been a little bit archaic and hasn't changed since we've started the program. Oh, I don't even know how many years we've been doing Project Skills, but we are bringing it into the nowadays to give students a little bit more realistic idea of what it will be like once they join the actual workforce. So, and Kate or Maya, I can't see the chat, so if something pops up, feel free to interrupt me as we go.
I'll watch it for you.
Okay, thank you. So we are currently using the ADP platform. So instead of the students getting paid on the 1st and the 16th of every month, now they're going to get paid every 2 weeks. So this Sunday was the start, or this Monday was the start of a brand new pay period. But students that work the last 2 weeks are getting paid on Friday. So it's a shorter turnaround too for hours worked versus when they get that paycheck, which is a huge, huge advantage for the students that are participating in Project Skills now. So, the new pay period started on the 26th of August, and it will go through September. I got to do my math. 15th. So then they'll get paid on September 8th, and then they'll get paid on the 13th again. So it'll be every 2 weeks on a Friday is when they get paid, moving forward with Project Skills. The hourly wage was increased on July 1st, and so now we're paying out $12.50 an hour for students that are working, and we're still covering the taxes and the workers' comp type stuff. So as far as that part of it, nothing changes. It's only the payroll platform that has changed. All students must redo their new hire paperwork onto the ADP system. So even if they've done Project Skills in the past using the old way, they will need to redo all of that paperwork to get into the new system, because everything is done online now. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But so the I-9, the W-4, the selective service form, the wage, whether it's direct deposit, paycheck, or if they want to get a debit card, we do still have that payroll debit card. It's just a different one, so it's not going to be the same one that we've used in the past. That'll be on there, and then we'll still need a work agreement. So things will change a little bit as far as the amount of paperwork that we'll have to do. And employers will only sign off on the Project Skills work agreement. They will no longer sign off on the time cards. That responsibility will move over to the school staff that is working with them. And I'll get into that here in a little bit as well. So the big changes again, just to reiterate, students will get paid every 2 weeks, and all students will need to redo their payroll paperwork onto the ADP platform. Okay. So with this change, the documents for help have changed a little bit. In the past, counselors would give out a printed Project Skills manual or folder with the manual in it. We are no longer, at this time, we are not printing those documents, but rather they're available on the ADP homepage, which I'll show you here in a little bit. And then also when the process starts for the student to get enrolled into the ADP, the Project Skills manual for students is included as an attachment in those emails to those students. So then that way they can see that. I'm going to just kind of show you quick. So this is the Project Skills manual for students. A lot of the information that was in the previous one is still in there about, what's the benefits of working and doing Project Skills while in high school, different exploration and planning to determine employment goals are in there, their responsibilities, their school's responsibilities, talking about the job development, job coaching, and monitoring, because that will continue as it always has in the past. The paperwork, again, there's always the IPE with their VR counselor after a discussion. And then there's the onboarding form that has the student's email address, date of birth, and their start date. And then it also will have the school staff that's working with the student. We will need your date of birth, your email, and your name to fill out the onboarding form. We just need that date of birth once to get you into the ADP system. Since everything is online and electronic, we have to keep it as secure as possible. So we need to verify, and date of birth is a great way to do that. So if you're not already in the system and your counselor is asking for your date of birth to get a student enrolled into the ADP program, that is why, is because we need it for security purposes.
Katie, we do have a question in the chat, if I can interrupt you for a moment.
Sure.
The question is, will the Voc Rehab counselors help students with the new ADP sign up?
Okay, yep, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. Yep, okay. The employer's responsibilities are in there, VR counselors' responsibilities, same note to families are in there, and then frequently asked questions. When you have a chance, I would encourage you guys to go in and look this over. Once you have access to the ADP homepage, this will be on the homepage as well as the Project Skills manual for schools. But there's some great information in there. information about creating the profile, approving their time card, talking about when they get paid, and then how they can access their pay stubs, because it's a lot easier for them to access their pay stubs now once they get into the ADP system. So all of that information is in there. And then for school, so these ones are just for school staff and project skills. Important information that you should know about. Again, I touch on the project skills paperwork, and then frequently asked questions by schools about the whole project skills process, as well as the ADP. So again, this is another one that I would encourage you, when you have time, to look over it, just to familiarize yourself with what's in there. That way, if a question comes up, it might already be answered in one of these manuals. Otherwise, you can always reach out to me as well. But then there's also steps in here about saving the ADP bookmark is in there. If you want to do the I-9 verification, that's an option for schools now. And then the time approval process, which I'll be going over here in a little bit. But all of the instructions that I provide written instructions as well as screenshots to try to make it as easy as possible. I know somebody had asked about like a how-to video, and we don't really have a how-to video, but the screenshots and the instructions will hopefully serve as that. And then logging into the app, there's information about that too, because students can download an app and log in and clock in and out that way and sign off on their time cards and different things like that. So I'll get into that here in a little bit as well. So getting ready, the first steps are going to be getting that IEP signed with the voc rehab counselor. Those are those individual plan for employment that saying that the school district, VR, and the student and their family are approve projects, that student to work in project skills. So we need that first, and then that's when the counselor will start the onboarding form. Again, that onboarding form is really important because that starts the whole process. And a student cannot be onboarded unless we have a start date. We can start the ADP process with it 30 days within their start date, but we can't go any more than those 30 days. So this, as soon as we have that start date, it's really important to get for that counselor to get me that onboarding form so that me and a couple other DRS staff can start that onboarding process. There will be 3 emails that get sent to the student when they know they're getting ready to start. The first email will be the instructions on how to do the ADP onboarding process, as well as that project skills manual for students. Then they'll get a Microsoft single sign-on invitation from DRS staff. And the purpose of the Microsoft single sign-on is, again, to keep it as secure as possible. We're putting a lot of PII information onto a website, so we need to make sure that we're keeping this information as secure as possible. So part of the Microsoft single sign-on is they're not having to remember a user ID or a password that they might write down, lose, and then somebody could log in on their behalf. They will need an email address that is specific to them. Only one email address can be used per student. So if they don't have an email right now, it's a great lesson to get them a professional email. That way they have one when they start doing job search and community employment after project skills. So everybody needs a professional email these days. So if they don't have one, this is a great time to do it. They can use their K-12 emails as well, but they just need to make sure that they have access to those emails like over the summertime, or even after, if they're still doing like an 18 to 21 program. I don't know how schools work, but if they don't have that K-12 email and they're doing an 18 to 21, then it's best to have a professional free one through Gmail, Yahoo, or whatever it is. They will also need a phone for text verification. So it's a two-step verification process. So they need to have the password to their email that they're using. And then they'll be prompted to enter a phone number to get a text message verification. If they don't have a phone number that's tied to them, schools and providers can use their phone. Just know that you will get a text message verification when they go to log in if they're using a new device. So it's really important to remember that. And then when they get onto their ADP profile, they'll still need those two forms of ID. So the Social Security card and a state ID or driver's license for the I-9 to show that they're legally able to work. They'll do the W-4. So they need to know how they, are they claiming exempt? Are they claiming 0? Are they claiming 1? Whatever it is. And then if they are doing direct deposit, they'll need that information as well. So who can help the student do the onboarding process? It can really be anyone. It can be the voc rehab counselor. It can be school staff. It can be parents. So far, we've gotten over 80 people into the ADP system, and it's been a variety of different ways that the students are getting these done. So it really just have a conversation with your VR counselor. You know, the first time when you look at the instructions, it might look a little bit overwhelming because it is instructions on that. But, you know, as you do it a couple times and you get familiar with using the instructions, it does get easier. I just helped a student just the other day, and it took us about 20 minutes from start to finish because we had all the information. He knew his email password. He had a phone number that we could use that he got a text message verification thing on it right away. We knew how he was going to enter his information, and we had his direct deposit. So it took about 20 minutes to get done.
Katie, we have a couple comments and a question.
Sure.
One comment is there's some difficulty if schools do not let them get emails from outside the K-12 system, so personal email is best. Another comment, I've discovered using a school email has worked well because they will always have access on their Chromebook. And then the question, and I was kind of thinking this one too, so thanks for asking it. What happens if the student doesn't have a phone and no employees at the school can use their phone for it?
In those situations, reach out to me directly.
That was from me, and we're having that problem with several kids, and we don't have parents that have phones either. So phones aren't really an option for our kids.
Okay, Jody, go ahead and email me directly.
Okay.
And we'll come up with a solution for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
But if you could send that out to the group, because I have at least 2 or 3 where that's going to be an issue also for us.
Okay.
The majority of ours have cell phones, but there are 2 or 3 where, you know, the cell phone use is going to be very minimal, and I'm not sure that parents are going to be able to follow through on that, if you catch my drift.
Right. Yep. And the thing is students, once we have the onboarding once they are in the ADP system, if they don't have a phone, because we know every student that participates in Project Skills will not have their own phone. So they will just do a paper time card, just like they've always done in the past. And then they'll give it to the teachers, and then you guys will be able to enter it into the system on their behalf if they don't have a phone to download the app and to clock in and out right there. So, I mean, so if that's what it is, but if it's for the text verification, if that's what you're most worried about, then yeah, shoot me an email, and then I will, Kate, if you want to put my email in there, because I don't know if I wrote that at the end of the presentation, but if you want to put that in the chat, and then I will follow up on that and get back to you guys on those. Okay. So the instructions. So we've worked very hard on doing the instructions for all the steps associated with getting into doing your ADP app. And this is what is included in that. Oops, hold on. And this is included in the email that we send to schools or to the students. And then we've also gotten into where we CC the teacher that's working with them, as well as the voc rehab counselor, so that you guys know that we've started the process and that they can start the onboarding as soon as they get the emails. So on the first page, there's some great information about knowing the password to the email that's being used. We've ran into that quite a bit where the student doesn't know what the email is or the password is, and then it delays things, and we really struggle with getting further into the onboarding when we don't know what that password is. If it's the parent's email, that's fine. But the parents just need to be available when we do the onboarding process, so that we can, because there will be some emails that get sent to them that they need to reply to when they're doing it. So again, if it's the student's personal Gmail or whatever it is, that's great. But yeah, I know in some schools it's worked really well to use the K-12 email, but then we've learned this week that there's some, that the school must block outside senders. So all of the emails that we tried to send were getting returned as undeliverable. So it just depends. Every school is set up a little different about your guys' email access. So just be aware of that if they're using a K-12 email. And then we talk again about having the 2 ID forms for the I-9, having their bank information and their preferred responses. We've learned that some kids that have cell phones, they might have certain parental controls on them. So there's information on there about that. And then there's technical assistance. Catherine has been my go-to person whenever I run into problems. So she's a good person to reach out to. And of course, you can always contact me and I'll help you walk through the steps too. I will say when I'm helping people, the majority of the things, it's because something gets missed in the instructions. So again, I tried to provide written instructions, and then I also show a screenshot. Because depending on what email they use, there might be different verification. Like I've learned with, it seems like with Gmails or even Android phones, there seems to be a separate verification process when they try to get into their emails. So just be aware of that. So if it takes you to a different spot, you might have to come back to the Microsoft single sign-on instructions after you do that. But all of these are in here. So if they have a school computer, like for those that don't have a text message, you could check with your school IT to see if they could download the Microsoft Authenticator app onto their computer that they're using at the school, and then they wouldn't need to use a cell phone to verify their identity. We've found that it's a little bit easier when they do the phone number and get a text message, but if that's not an option, then that might be one workaround for the thing is to check with your IT department and see if this Microsoft Authenticator can be downloaded onto their school computer.
Katie, we have another question.
Sure.
So the teacher asked, will the students be using the ADP app after they leave the school district? Or is it just for project skills? And also, where is this information found? I'm assuming we're gonna all have access to a copy of this manual.
Yep. So repeat the first question for me, Kate.
Sorry, will students be using the ADP app after they leave the school district?
So because we have the single sign-on, these steps are specific to project skills and ESP. So an ESP is a very similar program to project skills, but it's for students that aren't eligible for project skills because maybe they're on a 504 plan instead. So they're not eligible for project skills, or our adult clients. So if they're still doing a paid work experience with voc rehab, then yes, they will continue to use the ADP. But if they are working at the local grocery store and the local grocery store is using ADP, then that'll be it'll be the same app, but it'll be a different sign-on process. Because we have the single sign-on to keep things as secure as possible. Okay. And what
Where
was the
will-
second question? Oh, access to all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, where will we find this?
So, it will be on the ADP homepage once you have access to that. But I will be sharing the project skills manual for school and students in the, to be placed with the recording of today's, presentation. So you'll be able to find it on there until you get access to the ADP.
Danny left a note saying Wayne needs to do it.
Okay?
Here we go. Just a comment that K-12 emails go away when they leave the district. And also another
Push to
question,
do the Gmails or the Yahoos, the free ones, a professional one, you know, not the Skater Boy 54.
we also have another question. Can students use a school ID for the form of ID versus a state issued ID?
We have to look at the I-9. If they're under 18, there's some concessions that we can use a school record. Well, let me see, hold on. So we follow, we have to follow what's on the thing. So we can use a school ID card with photograph as one of the state IDs. So we still want that social security card for one of them, but yeah. And then we typically see the driver's license, a state ID card, or a school ID card with photograph. And then if they're under 18, we've been able to use a school record or report card. But yeah, preference would always be one of these top three if at all possible. Okay. And then when they get to the app, like I said, they can download the ADP app if they have a device that they can download it, an Android, iPhone, or an iPad. And then here's the steps for getting into that. So all of this information will be emailed to the student once this process has started. So a few of the frequently asked questions is school staff date of birth really required? Again, yes, it is for security purposes. We need your name, email, and date of birth one time to get you into the system. Once you have access to the ADP system, then you no longer need to send in your date of birth because you've already been granted access into the system. If there's no phone to download the app, that's okay. We can still use those paper time cards that we've always used. And then the student can either enter it on the website. I think I forgot to show that. Hold on. So this is the website for the client, the secure link for the clients to use, the students to use. And then this will be the secure link for school staff and VR counselors to use. So anytime school staff will need to go into the system, this is the one that you will want. Capitalization matters. I didn't know that until after the fact. So I apologize for throwing in some capital letters and lowercase. But make sure that you have that in there. And then that's why there's things there's instructions in the school staff manual on how to save it as a bookmark because there is a little bit of a trick to it. So otherwise, yeah, every 2 weeks on Monday mornings, you'll get an email that will remind you to go in and sign the time card. And then in that reminder email is the link to go in and do that.
Another question about would a tribal ID work?
Yeah, I believe so. I thought, yep, a Native American tribal document. There's no example, but yeah, that's there. And if it's an ID card issued by a tribal, yep, we've used that too. Yep. That's a federal, that's a federal form. So yeah, so we always go off of what the federal what the federal I-9 website tells us is okay.
Katie, there's also another question. Do you need to see original documents if they have been participating in Project Skills last year?
Talk to your voc rehab counselor. Because they're the ones that are going to be doing the I-9. So talk to your voc rehab counselor about that. Email or phone changes. So if the student's email or phone number changes, an email needs to come to me. If it's an email change, with both of these, if the email or phone changes, they will have to go through that Microsoft single sign-on authentication process again. So it's really important to make sure that whatever email and phone number is used the first time is one that they will always have access to. It's possible, yes, to have both of them changed. But if the phone number changes and that's what they used for the authentication process, then that requires BIT to go in and reset it. And we have to verify that it is the student that is changing it and not some random Joe off the street that happened to get a hold of something and just say, oh, by the way, I need to change John's phone number, because we don't want to give access to people that should not have access. So there will be a verification process if any of those change. Okay. And then monthly and quarterly reports will continue as they always have. But if you help with the onboarding process, you can count that as job development on your monthly reports, which can in turn go on to your quarterly reports. And then signing off on time cards counts as monitoring, because chances are you're having that conversation with the employer anyway, checking in, did they make it to their schedule like they're supposed to, or you're talking to them about future schedules, you're checking in, seeing how things are going and things like that. So you're already having that connection with the employer. So it just made sense to change that responsibility from the employer to the school. Just because you guys are the ones that would know better what their hours are and if they've been working or not. And then plus we couldn't add all of the employers that we work with around the state to the ADP system. So signing off on the time card, I can't really show you the live ADP website because, again, PII, and I don't want to share any information that is related to any of the folks that are into the ADP system. So this is just a screenshot, but this shows, what hours this student worked during this week. And then down here is week 2. But they use the app to clock in at 9 and clocked out at 10. And then on these days as well. If they forgot to clock in on Wednesday, all you would have to do, or the student, would be just to click in this box on the date where the squares are going, and then just type in the time, go over here, enter the out time, and then click down here for save. And then every 2 weeks on Monday morning, you'll go in and approve it. So you will go up here to this approve button and to this approve button down here and hit save. Do not click on the approved time card over here. This is supposed to be for VR support staff to finalize the time card. So we do that on Wednesday morning. And then, so this is all done on Monday. This is done on Wednesday by support staff, and then the student gets paid on Friday.
Katie, granted someone had answered somebody's question, I still want to read it out loud just so everybody knows. So we had someone ask, just for clarification, Project Search stipends will not be paid through this method, correct? And the response was stipends are issued via paper check. Is that correct?
Yes, Project Search is not associated with ADP at this time, no.
Okay,
So that will continue as it always has.
perfect. Just wanted everybody to hear that. So
Yep, nope.
thank you.
Okay. So that is the bulk. I will just quick show you, like I said, I can't go in to ADP because I don't want to take the risk of showing anybody's identifiable information. But right here is the important documents. So here you'll find the workers' comp first injury report. So we've got that on there. The project skills manual for students. If a student needs an accessible version, that's also on here. The project skills manual for school staff. Project skills work agreement. So it was asked to make it a little bit easier to fill out and to make it available. So I did make it into an electronic version so you can type the information. Hold on, it's thinking. But all of the information is fillable now. You can't really see it. Let me blow it up a little bit. So this still does require the employer's signature, and it just as it always has, the student gets a copy, the employer gets a copy, school should keep a copy, and then the final copy after everybody signs goes to the voc rehab counselor. But all of that information is in here now, and I did change it to an 8x11, so it's easier to print versus when it was the legal and it printed weird like that. So that was changed, and again, we made it all fillable, so it's a lot easier if you want to type in your information versus sitting there and having to write it out. I'm a person that likes to type versus write because I can't even read my own handwriting. So this has been a change that's been made available. And again, copies go to the participant, the employer, the school, and the voc rehab counselor after everybody's signed.
In the chat, we have a thank you for making that fillable.
Not a problem.
We also have a question. How soon do we need to have students into this system?
It's whenever they have a start date for their new projects for project skills. So if a student isn't planning to start until November, let's say, then we don't need to worry about it until it gets closer to that start date. But if we have a student that's starting on September 3rd, then the onboarding form should be sent as soon as possible so that we can start the process and that they can do the onboarding before their first day of work.
Katie, we also have another question. It says our district has external job coaching, etc. Can we have more than one school contact per student?
Yes, you can. Yep. Just make sure both people's information is listed on the onboarding form when we're working on that. But yes, there can be multiple. There can be 2 or 3 if you wanted 3. But yeah, it's always good to have a backup because you know the VR counselors have a backup, the VR support staff have a backup in case one of them is gone. There's somebody else that can help out in those absences. So yes, you can have a backup. The project skills monthly report is on here as well as the quarterly assurance of match. This is more for our adult clients, but we put that on there. These are the instructions that the student receives when we send out that first initial email. And we also have accessible instructions if the student needs an accessible, the instructions in accessible format. And then I have the steps to sign on to the ADP app. Those are actually on the first steps to creating the ADP profile, but I have them separated too, just in case. Information about the Wisely payroll debit card, because like I said, this is an option, but it's going to be different if they've gotten one in the past from the old way. It's going to be different moving forward. It's exactly the same. It's just a different brand. And then I also have the accessible information for the Wisely. You guys won't see the ADP roles and responsibilities for VR staff because you're not VR staff.
Another question. Actually, we have a couple.
Sorry.
First, sorry, Katie. Do the students need to have this completed before they begin working?
Yes.
And the next question, should the onboarding start at the beginning of the school year or starting of the project skills job?
Starting of the project skills job. So again, we can't fill out, I'll open up the onboarding form just to show you guys what that looks like too. Hold on, I gotta open it. Oops.
Well, you're opening, if you can do two things at once.
Go ahead.
Is the old debit card able to be used even with the new system?
No. We can't, no, because that one's tied to the state, unfortunately. And with any of those payroll debit cards, you can't put money onto it unless it's through a paycheck. So yeah, unfortunately, no, we weren't able to use the same card. But this is the onboarding form that I keep talking about. So we put the student's name, the student's email, the student's date of birth, and the start date. Because again, we can't do this unless we have a start date, and 30 days is the max that we can do the onboarding form before the start date. And then this will be your name, and if you want to put a backup person, you can. And then you'll both need to provide your date of birth. Again, just that one time. Once you get into the ADP system, you don't have to provide it again. And then you put both of your emails in here. And then whatever school district that you are associated with goes right here. And then this is where the counselor will put in who the VR support staff is for their district office. They'll put their name and their supervisor's name for backup.
Katie, another question. After enrolling into ADP, do they automatically get sent the new card?
The new payroll card?
Correct. I
Yes.
believe.
If they signed up for it, yes. It'll come in the mail. Yep. What other questions do you have while we're still on? We've got a few more minutes, and so yeah, throw more at me.
I have a question and I'm going to ask it verbally because it's hard to put it into writing.
Absolutely.
We had this happen last year. We had a student who had emails and couldn't remember her passwords, changed emails. I mean, she can no longer even make a Gmail account because she has done it so many times. She is independent. She has no family. How do we go about doing that where we can't get an email that, I mean, this is fact. This is not a made up story.
No,
This really happened.
I completely understand. I worked with another school that we ran into similar problems. And so the school set them up with a free email. So if she can't get Gmail anymore, maybe go into Yahoo and get her an email. And then what I would do is save it in her file at the school. Like on a, I don't, that's probably not the best way to do it, but I mean, I guess I don't know how else to do that because the teacher with the ones that I was working with earlier, either this week or last week, that's what he had to do was that he had that saved so that he could help the students when the time went if they needed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one would go in and change her password even after we did that. So it was a nightmare. Really. It was like horrible. So, okay.
A couple more in chat. Firstly, if a student loses their payroll debit card, how do they get a new one?
That information is on the Wisely. There's contact information on there that of a number that they can call to get a new card.
Okay. Next question, can the cards be sent to the school instead of a student's home?
Nope. It will go to their home address.
Any other questions for Katie?
I'm pulling up that Wisely just to make sure, but yeah, so this is the Wisely flyer that's on the line. So it explains all that information. There's an app that they can download for that as well. And then there should be a phone number. I know there's a phone number. It must not be on this one, but there is a phone number to call. It might be in the manual for VR staff. So if it gets lost, they can reach out to their voc rehab counselor. And I believe that I have it saved in the VR counselor manual. But and that's another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up. This is a brand new process. I completely understand. We had rolled it out in one district to begin with, just to start learning the process. And now we have it going statewide. So I'm getting new questions on a regular basis. And so I am frequently, not every day, but frequently updating those manuals. Like if I get the same question enough times, then I will end up putting it in the manuals, because obviously if I get the same question from 5 people, then other people are going to have that question down the road. So I've been finding that it's really easy for me just to update the manuals, and then I always update it on the ADP profile or the ADP homepage. So it would never hurt, if you print a copy, great, but it wouldn't hurt to go on every once in a while just to check to make sure that you have the most recent version, because I do not want to send out an email to everybody if a manual gets updated, because especially at the beginning, it was getting changed every day. And I didn't want to irritate everybody with all of my emails. So all of the most recent documents will always be found on the ADP homepage once you have access to it. So yeah, just go in there every once in a while and check to make sure that your paper copy, because I have revision dates on all of them, either on the first page, maybe on the second page, but the revision dates are always on there. So you know whether or not you have the most recent copy.
And I put Katie's, excuse me, I put Katie's email in the chat again. Are your slides available to be emailed to the teachers?
I will email them to Maya, and she can put them on the website when they put the recording up. I'll send the project skills manual for school, the project skills manual for students, and my slides to Maya to be placed with the recording when that's been made available.
Awesome. Anyone else have any questions?
I think there were 2 other ones actually in the
Did I miss them again? And my screen's maybe
That-
funky.
is okay. So the first
yeah.
one is, if my student who is currently using ADP with password to log in, can we switch to Face ID for login? Our other students use Face ID.
Yeah, they should be able to do it on so let me quick bring up that. Hold on. So this was something that I just added. So that's why everything got updated, was the logging into the app information. So hold on, let me get into it. So when your student goes into the ADP app, they should see this screen right here where they can click sign in with user ID and password. And if they click that, that'll automatically take them to the South Dakota Microsoft authentication process. But they can also click on sign in with Face ID, or they can do a quick clock in. As long as they're logged into the app, they can do a quick login where it just they clock in and out without going into the entire app. And if they see this screen right here, then they will have to follow the steps to sign on to the ADP app. But part of those instructions that the initial instructions that they get, they are encouraged to enable Face ID right here. So yes, it's much easier to log in if they enable their Face ID, if they have the app.
Now I see the other question. It is, can students still elect to get a paper check, or does it have to be direct deposit or payroll debit card?
They can get a paper check. Just know it takes about a week to get it after. So Friday is the payday. Chances are they won't get that paycheck until next Friday because it takes a little longer. And then there is that chance that it gets lost in the mail. But yes, they can get the paper check. Am I still sharing? Yeah.
I think we got to everybody who had a question in the chat. If I missed you, just speak up. Just unmute yourself and speak up. I want to make sure we get to everybody if we can.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have this straight in my mind because I have 18 students I'm going to be doing this with.
Okay.
Okay, that's my whole program is project skills.
Yep.
So for me to get into this app, I have to first of all have one student working.
So yes, that's the easiest way. I mean, you can send me your email and date of birth ahead of time to get access if you want, but it just won't be as helpful to you until you have a student in your system. And the
Okay.
other thing is
Okay.
real before you go on to your next one, staff cannot use the app. You guys will always use that bit.ly SDDHS-ADP-staff-link. You guys will not use the app. The app is only for students to use to clock in and out.
Okay. So my first student will probably start working. We start tours next week. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that we will have our first student working within a week.
Okay, great.
I mean, it goes pretty quick here. We place fast. And so as soon as he gets in, I will get in. We will help him do the ADP online boarding. And then am I going to have like a list of all my students that I will see, or what is my part of it's going to look like?
So, let me go back to here. Hold on. Present. I gotta get this out of here. Enter full screen. So, oh, I gotta hit share. Okay, so a lot of what you guys will be working with is the individual time card. So you can see right here that when I took this screenshot, I have different access. So I have access to all of the ADP accounts. So I can use these arrows right here to go back and forth, to go in between students. Obviously, I can't show you because again, this is just a screenshot. I can't go into the live. Or you can click on this button right here and it'll show you a list of all of the students that are tied to your ADP account.
Fantastic. So I can just go in and start approving those cards as
Yep.
I don't have to keep going in and out.
Yep. So
Okay.
you will just go in here, click here. Whoops, it clicked. You will click here, and then hit save, and then go up here to this arrow to move to the next student. And do the
Okay.
exact same thing after you verify their hours.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I
So
just wanted to make sure it was easier.
Yep. And like I said, every Monday morning, school staff will get a reminder email. It comes from this Cliff Scott with Career Match Solutions because they're the vendor that we work with to use ADP. So he sends a reminder every Monday morning to school staff to go in and check the time cards. And then in that email is that bit.ly. So all you have to do is click on that and then you'll be able to get in.
How early does that come?
I believe it comes about 8 o'clock in the morning. So it comes pretty early.
Okay.
You know, and I do know that sometimes Mondays we don't have school and that's okay. Wednesday at 1 o'clock is the deadline for schools or for support staff to sign off on it.
Okay.
So once we do our final sign off, then ADP gets shut down for that pay period because then paychecks are starting, they're doing the process to issue the paychecks so that they go out on Friday.
And can we go in before that email comes to approve it?
So if you know your students are done working Friday morning, you can go in Friday afternoon and sign off on them all.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
Yep. Or yeah,
Katie,
if we don't have school on Monday and you go in Tuesday morning, just do it right away Tuesday morning.
Okay.
we have one more chat question here. Is October 1st still the beginning of the new project skills year? I've always waited until October 1st to start students.
No. So October 1 is the beginning of a new federal fiscal year, but students can start project skills prior to October 1st. Talk to your voc rehab counselor.
Okay. Well, we've run a little over, so thanks for those of you who hung in there with us. Thank you so much, Katie, for coming and talking to us today. We really appreciate it. For everybody, come join us. I had it on my calendar and then I put my calendar back. September 25th, we are going to be talking to the folks from Parent Connection, and I see Betsy Drew has joined us here today. So we'll be talking to Betsy, and I believe Carla will be joining us. So come join us on the 25th of September, 3 Central Time, 2 Mountain. And of course, look for this and more on our TSLP events page. So thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day. Have a great school year.